We all pretty much have our I'm not enough beliefs. Whether that's I'm not fit enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not rich enough, I'm not attractive enough.
There's an easy way that couples can start to heal some of these self-defeating beliefs, and we want to show you how to do that today. And if you aren't in a couple, you could do this with a good friend. It's virtually impossible to heal something that we keep hidden away. So what we want to do is bring it out into the light, into this safe space of this partnership so that we can take a look at it.
So what's our not enough belief that we're working with today?
It's hard to share these things,
It is hard, yeah. Even though I think I know all of what your not enough beliefs are.
All right, here we go. I'm not enough belief that I've had since I was probably really, really young is I'm not pretty enough. Well, this is one of my I'm not enough beliefs, but let's work with this one.
Okay. It can help to look at the origins of your not enough belief. So where do you think this belief might have come from?
I think it started when I was really, really young because I was born with some birth defects. I didn't see out of one eye, and I have visual defects in my other eye. The fact that I got teased or just shunned by other children kind of makes sense to me now. At the time, I didn't understand why kids didn't want to play with me or they thought I was weird or odd. In addition, I was quite clumsy.
When you can't see, you tend to run into things, right?
I ran into things so much, and mostly on my left side because I can't see it all on my left side, that I was quite banged up on my left side. And I remember my father, a couple times people asked him if he hit me because they figured, why would I get bruised on one side of my body constantly?
Oh, gosh. That must have been awful.
By first grade, I had really thick glasses, and
Wow.
I would have to get new lenses every 6 months or so. They were changing so quickly. And it was so traumatic because I knew they would be even thicker every time when we picked them up. And I would see them and I would burst into tears and I'll be like, I can't go to school wearing these new glasses. It must have been hell for my mother with her daughter crying about having to wear these things, knowing I would get teased even worse than before. And my parents, they really couldn't afford all these glasses anyway. I felt really bad about that.
Must have been doubly tough for them, right? They're having to pay for something that makes you cry. It's really important that if you're the person listening, that you really show some compassion. Because you might say to yourself, it's no big deal. You look fine. But when you go back to those days when she was a child, you can imagine what she must have been going through. We're talking about the origins of the belief, and it helps to have compassion for that child who had to go through that.
And for me to develop compassion for that child.
Right.
Yeah.
So is there any other place that you can see that belief might have come from?
Because we didn't have a lot of money, my parents really couldn't afford clothing for me that was stylish or new. I had a lot of hand-me-downs, and a lot of hand-me-downs that came from my older sibling who was a boy. So, yeah.
That must have been tough.
I got teased a lot at school for that too. So the idea of being cute or pretty, that was just way out of my league.
And so that's a belief that you basically held your entire life.
I definitely still feel that way. We may never get totally rid of our I'm not enough beliefs, but that's okay. The process here is valuable not only for letting go of some of it, but also for this intimacy that it creates.
Sure. If you make just a tiny bit of progress each time, that's great. We can just keep doing it. We have plenty of time left. The reason to look at where your belief might have developed is not so that you can blame the circumstances or the people involved, but so that you can understand that really you had no control over it. You know, when you're that age, you don't have control over how you look, oftentimes how you act.
Certainly in this situation, I had no control that I was born with birth defects or that my parents didn't have a lot of money. To be able to look back and have compassion for the situation that this child was in and that my parents were in, really. That's healing in itself. There's no one to blame here. There's no one at fault here.
Right. So if you have any resentment or any feelings of blame, this process can really take care of those because you come to an understanding that, hey, it was really much out of your control for the most part.
Especially if you have feelings of resentment or blame towards yourself. There are situations where somebody actually did something horrible to you.
Right.
That's a different situation. But if I were feeling terrible about myself, which is often what's going on. There's just nothing that I could have done differently.
Right.
So it's not my fault that I grew up with this belief. We're always trying to measure up to these ridiculous, unattainable standards of beauty that almost none of us can measure up to. So I come into that whole scene with this already intact idea that I'm just not pretty enough. I'm not attractive enough.
And then it gets compounded by looking at images of what people think are beautiful.
Right.
Yeah, and it's such a narrow perspective often. This is beauty. Anything outside this narrow window is not. Right? And that's crazy. Look at her. Another question you could ask is, how has this belief held you back in life?
I am sure there's so many things I didn't do. Didn't join groups, didn't go to events, didn't walk up and talk to somebody, didn't say hi, didn't do a lot of things because I felt like I wouldn't be acceptable because I'm not pretty enough, I'm not welcome.
Yeah, so you're not going to be accepted.
Yeah, so why even try? I've been put down so often that you don't want to put yourself out there.
Another question you can ask is, how have these beliefs changed over the years, or how have you been able to work with them?
Thankfully, I think aging helps. You're not as concerned about things like this usually. And I hear this a lot from women who are older than me. They get to this point where they just don't care anymore and they're happy about it. And I think that helps a lot. And having had good relationships with men who saw all kinds of qualities in me and beauty as well.
Oh, yeah.
That they're not looking for this model off the pages of the magazine and expecting that from me.
Personally, I don't want anything that limiting, right? And when I look at you, you look beautiful to me. There's so many things about you that are beautiful.
I've done a lot of work on this myself and helped a lot of other women with this same issue. Because it's my issue, I have a deep understanding of it. So in our books and in our workshops, I talk a lot about this, about ways to work with this issue.
I'm sure that having grown up with those beliefs, it gives you a lot more compassion for people who express similar beliefs.
And I think it's epidemic, particularly with women, to feel like we're not pretty enough, we're not beautiful enough, we're not thin enough, we're not enough. I think that the media's influence is getting even stronger because the images continue to be more and more manipulated and more in your face.
Right.
And
you should look like this if you're going to be attractive. Right? Accepted, yeah.
And it's been shown that even when we know those images are not real and that they're manipulated, we still can't help but compare ourselves to them.
And yet it's really a no-win situation, right? You can't win to compare yourself against an airbrushed model.
Yeah, you can't win.
No.
Some of the things I've done is to focus on my strengths, focus on the things about myself that I like and that other people like, and that's been a good thing in this, right? Because you have to, if you're not going to be depressed about this forever, you've got to refocus on the things you like about yourself.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that was sort of leading into my question, and that is there any way that these beliefs have benefited you over the years?
My belief that I'm not pretty enough?
Yes.
I do like talking about that, like the gifts. If you can find the gifts in something like this. And this can be a tough one, but I can see one right away when you ask me the question. And that's that it gave me license to be a weirdo, right? Which I am, right? Maybe we all are, but because...
We don't all let it out, though.
I'm an odd person, right? I have crazy ideas. And because I was never going to fit the normal mold, I might as well let my crazy side show.
And, there are always people who are attracted to people who are a little bit out there on the edge. And, when
He's one of them.
It's true. I'm very attracted to her.
Keeps life interesting. Sometimes on our videos, somebody will comment, "You are so weird." And I'll say, "Yeah, totally, I am. You're right."
Let's not call it weirdness. Let's call it uniqueness.
Okay.
Right? If you can let your uniqueness shine, there are going to be people attracted to you all over the place. And that's what you found over the years.
What you say is kind of brilliant. that idea that I can't conform in this way, we could all use that as our jumping off point to our own unique way of being human.
Yeah, it kind of gives you a license to be unique.
A license to be you.
Yeah, right.
I like that.